Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the State of Events podcast. This is our Mommypreneur series, and we are so super excited to feature all of the different moms who are killing it boss lady style in the workforce. And today I have the absolute pleasure of finally getting one of my besties since we had the red and black lumberjack and Biggie Small days. My sister from my actual sister from another mister. I know we say that every time about the guests that we have on here that are women, but this is my homegirl, Miss Nicole Marquez. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So good to have you here. I know that it has been a long time coming. Nicole knows about the show, and we've had some of the guests actually that I've met from being your friend. They're like mutual friends, and so I finally have you on the show, and you agreed to be here, and I'm so excited.
Awesome. Me too.
Yay! So, Nicole, there is a lot of juicy stuff here because, friends, Nicole is a new mom. She has a newborn, my nephew, Delencito. So, tell us a little bit about who you are as a mom, and a little bit about your career.
Well, first off, thank you so much, Sonia. Yes, and it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm just really grateful for this time and this space to be able to kind of reflect on like who I am as Nicole Marquez, the an advocate. I work for a nonprofit organization that focuses on workers' rights. I'm a director and have a lot of responsibilities in terms of thinking strategically about how to improve the system of unemployment insurance. So that's been what our team is tasked with, and what I have been tasked with as a team lead. Um, and I am a new mom, as Sonia mentioned, and have been just like in awe of all of the newness that my son's name is Delency. We call him Delency though, because my husband's name is Delency. Of all the newness that and amazement that he kind of comes into this world with, and I've been just so inspired by like literally like the sounds that he makes when each day he's like sees something that maybe he saw yesterday, but now he sees it in a new, context, or the colors are more profound. And he literally is like, oh, and it's just so adorable. And I think that was one of the things that I had thought about before he came to this side of the earth, and was like, I was excited about like the newness that he was going to bring. Like he's a brand new person. Everything is new to him. And so I've been also trying to like replicate that. So I explain everything to him, every single thing that I'm doing. So because every single thing is new, and it's just really exciting.
So fun. What has been so you're four months in, right? He's 4 months old.
Almost 4 months. He's 3 months and a couple weeks.
Awesome, awesome. So you're 4 months in, so I'm sure you have a lot of new experiences, but what has been something that has been like, wow, I did not know motherhood had this. Like maybe I saw it and maybe I was a part of, someone else's journey, but I didn't know motherhood would feel like fill in the blank.
Yeah, that's a good question. My experience in terms of my pregnancy was like very, very smooth, and um, I was very fortunate to have. It was just such a great community to be able to support me to have a smooth pregnancy. My postpartum has been really powerful and challenging. I had um, not anticipated postpartum being so powerful, such that I would need additional support, and feeling like there's a saying like está bien de no estar bien. It's like it's okay to not be okay. And I've really kind of been thinking about that and um, welcoming and honoring the care and support that I've been provided by my husband, by you, Sonia, with coordinating the meal train. It's interesting as being someone who is so like independent and doing things on your own, and then all of a sudden needing a lot of support and a lot of tenderness. And so um I've been working with a therapist as well to navigate those feelings of like, why do I feel why do I feel a certain way? Why do I feel guilty for receiving help? And I think that's been the main thing with like being a new mom, is like all of these like the physical experience of laboring and having some other health issues pop up, not anticipating those, and like the unknown and the unexpected, and like it being okay with that, and knowing that I'm receiving support, and it's okay that I am receiving support, and feeling good about it. So I think that's one thing that I've been really surprised by. I've also been surprised by my intuition as a mother of like, let's try this out. Let's try, doing some exercises with your legs, and let's try, rolling and rolling from stomach to your back. And I speak to my son in exclusively in Spanish, and so that's been another dynamic of like thinking about my own identity as a Latina, Chicana, and making sure that he is bilingual. So a lot of different aspects in terms of like how I am creating an environment for him to really be nourished and flourish. And then yeah, I would say like that would be the one thing that I did not expect, was like how strong the postpartum experience would be.
I think it's interesting too because just we get a little candid here on the state of events, particularly this, because we want to give our moms who maybe people who aren't moms yet, but our moms who are not in the workforce or who are in any walk of life. You chose to have children in what would be considered, I don't even know why they do this, but it would be considered later in life. So what do you, I know you don't know any experience before your 40s, but what do you think is maybe something that is different of a woman who's starting to have children maybe in the like the second part of their career, or a second, the second part of their adulthood? What has that experience been for you, and in reference to maybe thinking about what it would have been if you were in your late 20s or early 30s?
Um, it's interesting because this is my narrative, right? Of like having my son later in life, and um, I, originally when I was with my partner, when we started our relationship, I had like kind of envisioned I had envisioned like not having children and not being married and not owning a home, was very much kind of in this like, oh, fight the power kind of um, um, uh, feeling. And so, um, but I slowly started to come to like feel very strongly about um, my partner falling in love with him and being in love with him, and being in love with somebody really presents just such an opportunity and possibility to then share that love um, with someone else. So we were together for about 8 years, and then we got married. And then a couple years later, 1 year after we got married, COVID happened, and then we got a puppy. So we were like, okay, well, we'll try this out, a puppy, and he's our fur baby, our first fur baby. And so, we did everything, like all the training, all the classes, and then we were like, okay, we would like to, try to have a child. And we were actually, like, because of the pandemic, there were a lot of stressors, and we um, we thought about, like, oh, well, maybe because I am older, there might be, the risks of not being able to conceive. So kind of exploring, like, what that would look like and what our plans would be for that. Um, and we, continued to try. And actually, like the week before we were gonna have an appointment with, like, the fertility specialist, I had found out that I was pregnant, and so that's kind of like how it works, I guess. Sometimes you're like, hesitant and
Yay! I didn't know
but
that you were taking that step to see, like, let's have everything checked out. And then baby
yeah,
was there.
yeah, we went, and it was pretty exciting. I mean, I was like, um, it didn't really feel real, until we started telling people, and we kept it on kind of the low for the first, like whatever it is, however much time they suggest that you kind of like keep it kind of to yourselves. um and but yeah, so we went to a fertility specialist, and just to, like, get that checked out and everything. And they were like, well, that's great, and hopefully we don't have to see you. And we're like, that's great, yeah. And so we were really excited. We had tied around, like, a bandana around our dog to let people know we were expecting. And he was really funny because he thought that people were just really excited to see him. 'Cause always, people are always excited to see him, but it was really
Can we
cute.
just take a pause and talk about his name? Can you please tell the people what is your pup's name, please?
Yes, so our pup's name is Mac Fuego. So Mac is
Love it.
After MacArthur Boulevard in Oakland. That's where um, Delency and I used to live. And then Fuego is actually for fire. And our first date was on the fire trail in Berkeley. So it's kind of like a blend of um, what was happening then, and then how we came together as a couple. So that's Mac
So
Fuego.
cute.
And he
I
also
love
has
it.
a
I love it.
video. We made a
He
video for
does.
him.
He needs his own Instagram. He needs
He
his own Instagram.
does.
I'm just saying,
It's
y'all
so
should get
cute.
Mac Fuego just because his name, and then you see him, and it's interesting how people kind of evolve into their name because Mac Fuego is all fire. Like he is
He
all fire.
is.
I
Yeah.
remember I visited Nicole. I think were you still pregnant at the time when I went
Yes.
to your
Yeah, because
mom's?
we went on a
I
walk
think so.
around our neighborhood.
Oh, okay. So, well, I went to go visit you at your mom's, and Mac
Oh,
Fuego ran in because she's a swimming pool, and he ran in and just jumped into the pool like no, like a little kid would.
yeah.
And he's adorable, but obviously he has to share now with Delencito because oh my gosh, Delencito is just so yummy.
He
I
is.
think it's interesting something that you mentioned in your story. You talked a little bit about that you went in to just kind of have the discussion about potential what fertility might look like at this stage in life, and you were pregnant, and that's such a promise to those of us who are still believing that just because you hit 40, it doesn't have to be over in the area of growing your family naturally. There's other ways, of course, to grow your family, but naturally, from yourself. And so to hear that happened naturally for you at this state in life, or this stage in life, is it gives us, comfort and encouragement that, we don't have to, it doesn't have to end. It can happen naturally. It doesn't have to be an automatic, let me go to a fertility doctor because I'm just this age. And so thank you for sharing that. That's really comforting and encouraging. Shifting gears a bit, as you kind of look at now, if I'm not mistaken, you're still on maternity leave. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
So as you look now in the next couple of weeks or month, you're going to have to start gearing up to go back to work. What are your feelings about that? How does that rest for you?
Yeah. So I'm very, very fortunate to have very amazing parental leave through my organization. Um, I My son was born in April 21st, and I went on leave at the end of March, and I'll go back to work at the end of October. So I'll have a total of 7 months off, job protected and paid leave.
Wow.
And it's really amazing because I feel like that is something, like Scandinavian countries have way more than that. That is something that is a result of like being in California and being with my employer. And it's your geographical location shouldn't dictate how much leave you should be able to have. I think that for me, I think about like people who have had complicated deliveries like myself, and have to go back to work, in um, 2 months, right? I mean, I can't even imagine just with like the sleep
Wow.
deprivation, and also like the time to be able to bond and you yourself heal. Uh, it's incredible. Like we are like the parent who is delivering the baby is there. There's a lot that happens, and to have to go back to work so suddenly is it's not right. I feel like we definitely need to focus on improving that so that way it's not, like I said, dictated by your geographical location. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking also about when I do go back, I also have a very, generous kind of easing my way back into my role as a director, and so and that is as a result of being with such a great employer who understands like you can't just like have people just come back to work, and expect them to like you've been gone for 7 months and just like pick it up right away. So I'll have a schedule that's modified, and then I'll slowly be working my way back in, and that makes me feel comforted that I'm not gonna feel like I need to like you know be 100% because mentally I think I won't be 100%. I'll be like, it's unclear right now if I'm going to be working remotely or if I'm going to be working in the office. So it's kind of like I'll have to look for daycare, and I've already started that process. But like what that will look like, and my husband, he works from home for the most part, but he's working, and so like we're trying to figure out if we have someone come here or if we drop Delancito off. We have different options, but it is a little bit like it's kind of interesting to like have to already start thinking about that. And it's I mean some people already start thinking about it before their baby is born, like where am I going to have caretaking, um who's going to be the caretaker for my baby when I go back to work. So yeah.
Wow. Do you think that, and thank you for even kind of giving us perspective for those of us who don't work in, the employment law space. It's something to say that how your company is structured is in part really because of where we're located geographically. Can you talk a little bit about what your organization does in the employment law sector, and how are they able to be so trailblazing in this? Is it the founder? Is it, what is the mission? Like how do they get it. It's so difficult just to get an employer to get it sometimes. How does your organization just get it?
Yeah. So my organization is the National Employment Law Project. So they are focused. Our focus is on advocating on behalf of the rights of um, Black and Brown workers, and it really is kind of from this space of like the most disenfranchised workers are Black and Latinx workers, and so if we start with that, then everyone will be able to benefit from focusing on the most disenfranchised. Because if we just kind of work on like like focusing on workers generally, um, Black and Brown workers we see get left behind or fall through the cracks. So if we start with the most disenfranchised, then everyone will be able to benefit. Um, the I think the organization as a workers' rights organization has really as like its values externally really lifting up kind of the what people are experiencing on a day to day and what are the things that people need to be able to thrive, not just survive, right? Like you need maybe 8 weeks for a cesarean to come back to work, but that's just bare minimum, right? And like if you have a complicated delivery, that's not guaranteed for you to have job protection and to have like paid to have that paid, right? I mean, you could have leave and then have not be paid for it, but for a lot of people who are underpaid, they can't afford to take time off to be able to take care of their baby and for them to completely heal. So I think our organization just does a really good job of like both externally understanding what the fight and what advocacy needs are for marginalized communities, and then internally being like being the model, right? Being the model of like this is what people should have, and these are the protections that people should have, um, regardless if they live in Tennessee or California.
And does this also extend to the the father or the your husband or whatever the partnership is? Does this also extend to them as well? And what are you seeing as some different things that maybe even as maybe as early as 5 years ago that have changed, where it's like now fathers are considered to also be, in need of having some parental leave?
Yeah, so I think it is challenging. It does not extend to my husband. I think if we were to follow a Scandinavian country model, we definitely would have protection for my husband. But since he has his own business, and I'm sure, like Sonia, you're aware of this, like how challenging it is to be able to like sustain your business and um, like there's no room for breaks. And he structured his work in a way that he was able to take the first 8 weeks. Was it 8 weeks? First 8 weeks off. He just told his clients, "Hey, I'm gonna have a baby," and his clients are like amazing. They came to our wedding and made one of two of his clients were like in charge of like making this wonderful dessert bar, and then another one um, we had another friend do a bunch of things for us in terms of like helping with the meal train. His clients were just like so generous. So they they were like, yes, come back when you need to. And then when I had as I had a subsequent health emergency, he needed to take a little bit more time off, and it was actually he had already planned kind of like to have a lot of time off, so it worked out fine. but we definitely had a lot of people come and help and stay with us. And um, I just kept thinking, like, when all of this was when we were going through like the very first postpartum weeks, thinking about like when my son was here, like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how people do this without support. Like if like single mothers, parents, single parents, like how do you how do you do this? So I'm super grateful for that. But but to answer your question, Sonia, about like does it extend to my husband? It does not. And so I think that that would be one way to like, see that we can have some like try to like advocate for improvements around that. Like these types of protections should be afforded to everyone, for sole proprietors, to employees, and the I was going to say something about the just like the importance of that time, because you never get that time back, to be able to bond with your baby. You know, the parental leave that I have would also extend to like a father at my organization as well. So, but because I'm the like direct employee, it doesn't extend to my husband. So, but in
Interesting.
general, like in California, it would be, but,
It'd be the
but
same.
either parent can take that leave.
Okay. Okay. As you, I want to kind of get into a little bit about how your perspective is now that you've been working for this organization that works in the labor law sector, and you were there before you had a child. And so now, as you are looking at what your work might entail, how do you think that you are going to advocate either differently, or maybe is there like to be like more robust advocacy? Like, how do you look? I know you're not back in it yet, but as you look ahead towards where you're when you're going to go back, what do you think it might look like for you now in the area of advocacy for the work that you do?
Yeah, I feel like it really has opened my eyes to just the amount of support and need there is for better protections for new moms, for new parents in general. Um, you know, there we we have so many resources available to us, and so it's like um w- I think about like the people that live in Florida or live in Texas or in some of the other states where the those types of protections might not be afforded to them. And again, like going back to that, like I just never anticipated having, I mean, I had a certain vision of like how my labor would go and like postpartum would be. And um it's different. And being open and being good with like not being okay and like receiving that help. And like I'm so privileged to be able to be in a position to afford a therapist, right? Like I feel like we should all have that kind of
Yeah.
that resource available. There are so many things and so many like physiological things that your body is going through, that even if you don't have whatever kind of delivery you have and whatever kind of postpartum you have, that support for new parents is just, it's critical. um, and it shouldn't be like, something where you're like, if you can afford to have a therapist, then then you're worthy of receiving it, because I feel like we all deserve it and we all are worthy of it. Um, so yeah, I think that that would be something that I feel like that mental health aspect is something that we're like, we just see like kind of like whatever, like the physical thing, like, okay, this person went through a physical traumatic um, experience through laboring um, and whatever, whatever type of, if you have a VBAC or C-section, it's like the there are so many emotional components that go into that. And so being able to have that support, um, so that way you can be the best version of yourself is just critical. Yeah.
Wow. Um, that has me thinking about a little controversial question I'll ask you too, but want to engage our listeners. You are listening to the State of Events podcast. We're having the Mommypreneur series today again, and we are with my bestie, Nicole Marquez. She is a lawyer and a new mom to a almost 4 month old, amazing, juicy, yummy little baby. We call him Delencito. That's his nickname for Delency. And Nicole is a lawyer, an attorney, and is in the nonprofit sector, working in labor law. And so I'm so excited to kind of hear what your journey has been so far, and then obviously how you are viewing what it's going to be like going back. But to get a little controversial here, because we like to get, we like to throw a little, controversy in these discussions. So we've talked to a mom who has a particular perspective and view on people returning back to work after whatever type of break you had, whether it was to birth a child, a human, or whether it was injury related or what have you. And that perspective was more so in the vein of maybe there's some assumed I should be able to kind of, I should not be able to pick up where I left off because depending on how long I was out of this particular position or out of this particular establishment, organization, corporate, that, there is maybe some relearning that you have to do. Maybe there's a new skill that you might have to learn because while you were out, the rest of the world was revolving and it was turning, and we had to run this company. For your perspective, particularly in the cases that you have seen, how do you feel about someone taking a break, such as you have? By the time you go back, it would have probably been about 8 months. And so, how do you feel about this idea of just being able to kind of plop back in to work, be able to take that pin out from where you left off and come back with same salary, same position, same everything, versus maybe the controversial approach would be, hey, you gotta kind of work your way back up here. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I had mentioned before that my organization is we're you know we've worked out like a modified schedule for me when I come back, and I am of the mind that I think that that is appropriate because I have been out. I will have been out close to 8 months. Um, and I'm very fortunate that my organization, they work on kind of planning for the next year in around the fall. And so when I come back, they will have been thinking about like what the team that I'm going to be that I lead, what we will be focusing on for 2023. So my supervisor has been leading my team, and I think having systems in place where, um, like that, where we have um, some buy-in from the people that I'm working in, complete buy-in from them, and input from me of like what that will look like, and also understanding that I have been gone for the past 7 months, and so what I would have thought of like as being a priority for next year might actually be something that is elevated to like even a higher priority level, or maybe it's been moved down to something that's less of a priority. And so I, as a lead, need to take the cues from my team, from my supervisor who's been leading my team, um, but also understand that you know I'm in this position because of not just my experience from the last 7 months, but my experiences prior to becoming pregnant and becoming a parent. And so trusting that, like, I do have important and valuable perspectives, rooted in those experiences in working from different experiences working at my organization and prior to working for my organization. I joined my organization in 2020. And so prior to that, I had been with another organization for about 8 years. So I think about, like, my perspective and my knowledge base and what I bring to the table, and that this time away will really enhance that, right? So that I can be able to contribute in a way that is meaningful and thoughtful and strategic when I get back. But it's also mindful of, like, I've been gone for that time period. So it's kind of very a lawyerly answer, Sonia. A
It
little
was
bit
a
of both.
political route. That's fine. I got it.
I think it's important to have that modified schedule to ease your way back in. But and also understand that, like, your knowledge base and your perspective and your skills from prior to becoming pregnant are still there. I
Right.
actually, one of my friends suggested from law school that I write a letter to myself before my son was born. So I remember who I am. So I know that, like, this experience of becoming a parent, becoming a new mom will enhance who I am. And I think that is, like, I need to go back and read that letter. So,
Oh, I love it. I would love to hear that.
yeah.
Would love to hear that. I want to ask a little bit about and growing up with you, friends Nicole and I, and our third or our third trio, Zoe, who actually was one of our early producers here at the State of Events. We used to have these political debates when we were in high school. We were all very strong and very opinionated women, and we came from these, strong women who were very opinionated, and so we used to have these debates about. Religion, politics, you name it. We would go to coffee shops, and this is actually really a lot of what I think grew our friendship. It was having these kinds of conversations, and so I would love to hear. Just our friends don't know you from way back when, but I would love to hear your perspective now that you have grown and that you are married and have a child now. I'd love to hear your perspective on some of the things that might have been considered stigma. And so the question to that is do you think or believe that there are stigma toward women when they want to either start their own business or when they want to grow in some kind of corporate ladder or some kind of executive structure? Are there stigmas around women who are mothers? And just to give some examples of maybe some stigmas that we've heard, well, I know that you're a mom, so maybe, like, your job isn't going to be your priority, which it shouldn't, but that's another topic. But and so, now that you're a mom, I can expect that, you probably won't be as available during a meeting. Maybe your mind is going to be somewhere else now. Are there any types of stigmas that you have heard and that you can maybe even dispel for some of the women that are listening?
Mm.
Take some time on that one. I know you've heard a lot in your career.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think gosh, yeah, I feel like again, like, I'm super fortunate to be at my organization, and um, I think that the like, any stigma that would come up would definitely be dispelled. around like needing extra support or needing, I mean, just like for a very, current example around like lactation support, um, in terms
And
of
maybe
like,
not even at your organization, but maybe in the workforce that that you've heard of, um, that has existed in other environments, maybe in more of a corporate structure or something like that. These common stigma that might be around working moms.
yeah, I definitely feel like, yeah, that there would be some type of like, thought that, oh, you're a new parent, and so, yeah, that your time is limited, um, which is true, but you are the one that should be able to be like have agency and ownership of saying, I'm going to need, this amount of time, or I'm going to need like, a time range, because I have, I do have other priorities. And so when it's external, like from somebody else saying like, oh, you're going to need this, as opposed to like the new parent saying, I need this, and these are the things like that I need support with. Um, I think that's an important distinction, right? So I think your time is limited and it's important and it's valuable. And so, um, to be able to be the one that's like dictating, I'm going to need, this amount of time, or can only, I mean, and this happens when you are, you don't have a family, right? Like you tell people your availability based on your availability. So this added layer of being a parent shouldn't be something that's like, oh, well, like frowned upon, right? Like, or stigmatized, like, oh, you're going to have less availability. It's like, well, I'm going to have, like a restructuring of like what my availability will look like.
Right, right.
Just the same as anybody else would, with scheduling and so forth. So I think to like stigmatize it, it really, yeah, it's really, it's, it's unfair. So,
It's almost like you're putting this assumption that these following things are going to happen because now you're a working mom, instead
mhm,
of first of all letting someone actually prove that right or wrong. Right, like, oh, we're
mhm.
seeing this behavior, but I think also what I'm hearing you communicate is that you need to communicate. Yeah, right. So you need to, hey, here's my boundary, here's my structure, and I've communicated that so that when you see a reflection of my boundary, you know that I've already told you about it. So
Right.
that's important.
That's important, and it's also like having you have agency, right, of that, and you be the one, to like dictate that instead of some external like, you know, HR plan, or I don't know, like some external like stereotypes that maybe folks have of like, this is, well, this is what so and so needed when they came back. And your needs might be greater than that. So you have to communicate that, and being okay with communicating that. I think I had shared a little bit about like maybe like feeling guilty, and it's like, no, don't feel like, I mean, that's going to come up, and then like reconciling that and navigating through where that root of the guilt is coming from, and then also thinking about like, you know um I need additional support, and these are the times I'm available, um and you being the one that's like dictating that and being the owner of that narrative.
Right, right. I wonder, and we're going to get into some fun questions here as we wrap up. So I want to see how you as a new mom answer some of these fun little mommy questions. But before we jump to that, I just kind of want to close out this portion on in the workforce with maybe I definitely want our community to be able to tap into some of the, the wealth of knowledge that you have around employment law and rights and all of these kinds of things. Can you give our audience maybe some indicators that they could listen for, or things that they might could watch out for, or maybe just be aware of, in which they might be in a discriminatory situation as a mom? Are there certain words that's like, I feel that that might be something that we need to explore there because I'm not being afforded the same opportunity because of what you just said? Or what are some of those indicators that some of our working moms can be aware of if they're maybe even contemplating, I might being discriminated towards?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Prior to the organization I work for now, I worked for a nonprofit in San Francisco. It's national. It's called the Equal Rights Advocates, and their focus is on advocating on behalf of women's rights with respect to women in the workplace and women in schools, and girls in schools. And what I found interesting is we had a hotline and people would call the hotline. And so I would actually encourage folks to call that hotline, and I can share it with you, Sonia, for your listeners. It's
For
Equal
sure.
Rights Advocates, and the hotline number um, is I don't have it offhand, but I can share it with you for listeners later. Um, the interesting part that I've found with that hotline is that people would call the hotline once they've been discriminated against, or once they've told their employer, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and then their employer's like, "Oh, well, we're going to eliminate your position, or we're going to move you to a different position, a less paying one," right? So like this interesting dynamic of like people experiencing discrimination and then seeking help. So I love your question about like what are the things you should be prepared for preventatively. Like you don't want to be like already anticipating like my employer is going to discriminate against me, but there is a fear that your employer would discriminate against you once. It depends, right, on what type of workplace you have, of like if they're going to be supportive of your pregnancy and your physical status as being pregnant. So I think a couple things to look out for are just, how have other people been treated? That could be indicators of like maybe how you will be received. Not necessarily, but I would say like, kind of keeping an eye out for like how other people have been received or treated once they've announced that they're pregnant. Also, keeping an eye out for people who have had medical situations that are not pregnancy related, and if they've been treated a certain way. So, if you're seeing a discrepancy between how pregnancy related
Yeah.
status is being treated as in versus a non-pregnancy related medical issue, like if somehow there's like preference given to people who are experiencing medical issues, but they're not pregnancy
Like maybe
related.
someone who had an injury or something?
Exactly. So if there's a discrepancy, so just kind of keeping an eye out for that. And really knowing your rights ahead of time, knowing, what kind of family medical leave protections you have. If you're in California, it's California Family Rights Act, and then paid family leave for bonding time after you have your baby. For other parts of the country, I would just recommend people, reach out to equal rights advocates and call their hotline. They have a really great understanding of like what are the protections available for women who are pregnant, and at such an exciting time of your life, right? And so to have to think about like, oh gosh, what if I might be discriminated against? Preventatively, if you have all this information, it can help you feel even more excited about such a precious and beautiful time in your life.
That's awesome. I put the name here, Equal Rights Advocates. That's where you can direct your query or even
Mm.
reach out to them for their hotline on how you can just keep that in your back pocket if you ever feel that you might be in a situation where you're experiencing some discrimination on anything for that matter, but particularly for working moms who want to take that precautionary step. So good. Okay, I am ready for the fun questions. Are you ready?
I'm
Here's the
ready.
new mommy questions. Okay. First, I think it would be helpful for our audience to hear a little bit about some of your mental health go-tos. So what are just 3 mental health go-tos now that you have this rambunctious little boy in your life now? What are some like, I'm gonna already say, I know you gotta get that acupuncture, girl.
The acupuncture. Yes. 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 You said 3? I have a
3.
lot more than 3.
Yes,
But top 3.
you should have more.
So I would say definitely acupuncture. I did acupuncture pre-pregnancy, throughout my pregnancy, and then postpartum. It's been really just crucial for these wrists because nursing
Mm-hmm.
and like the ergonomics of all of that, man, like our bodies have evolved. Like I have, yeah, I have much respect for acupuncturists and like all of the things that that my acupuncturist has been able to do to help support me so that way I can nourish my son. Um,
Yeah.
I would say and it's also been able to like help for like other parts of like my body and stuff. Um, then I would also say massage is really, really like that's
Yes.
one of my main things. I also was in a place of privilege to be able to have amazing massage therapist throughout my pregnancy. Started meeting with her probably once a month, and it was just really, really amazing to have like that gift of touch and
Mm.
feeling like calmness. So that is another thing, and then I'd also say like movement. I mean, I am like really active, love going to the gym. I've been, so in my early life, I was a lifeguard and
Yeah, you were.
a swimming instructor. And yeah, that was fun, Sonia, when that summer I was working as a cocktail server, like lifeguard by day, cocktail server. We worked together at that Mexican
Oh
restaurant.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Taking us back where that guy was trying to tell us that we need to give him his tips. Give him
Oh
our tips.
no. Yeah,
Excuse
look at
me.
this
I'm
like,
out here.
no.
No.
Mm-mm. No, no, no. Yeah,
But movement. So getting out, probably outside, getting outdoors with the
getting
movement too, probably
outdoors.
is really a self care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been able to get like a good solid block of mommy time, dropping my son off with my mother-in-law, and then I go to the gym and I swim. So I've been
Oh,
swimming.
wonderful. Oh
Um,
my gosh. Swimming is it's so great for the body.
it's
So
so,
great for
so
the body.
great. Yeah. And they have a hot tub there. So I, sit in the hot tub and then I take about like 30 minutes, not that whole time in the shower, but like because I have a lot of hair, so then wash my hair and do a little hair mask and it's just some time for me to like be by myself and it's really nice.
So great. So great. Okay, next question. This I have to kind of curtail for because your son isn't necessarily showing who his character or who his personality is just yet. But what is, if you can tell, what is a quality that you see in your son that is, or I should say, what is one of the qualities in yourself that you see in your son? Or do you think that you might see in your son?
Mm. Well, my son definitely looks a lot like me. Like I have like he's he's like very much my
You spit
tocayito.
him out.
Yeah, like he's for sure my son. Um, oh gosh, a quality. I think it is like, ah, I'm not sure what it is yet. I feel like he is, he's definitely very active, like you said. And I am also like a very active person. I would also say like he has a certain kind of look when he smiles, um, and that he's like absorbing it all. And I try to like be present when I'm, um, as like a quality that I try to, emulate. And I'm hoping that he emulates that too. I mean, I know he's
Mm.
a baby and everything is very much present. Like he's forgotten about like, maybe I don't know. But maybe he's not forgotten about like what his experience was like yesterday. It's just like a building off and continue.
Hmm.
So so yeah, being present. He looks like he's like
Like
being
he's
present.
connected.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like he's connecting, like he's there. You do
Yeah,
that. You do that. You've always been like when you're talking to someone or when you're like in a conversation, you're very much like, I'm giving you my attention and you're the, or if it's a group of people, like you all are where I'm at right now. And you don't like break off to like necessarily, I mean, now you're mommy May, but you don't like break off
yeah.
to like look at your phone or answer text messages all the time. So that's definitely a quality about you that I love. And if he has that, it's just going to be amazing. So
Yeah.
yay. Thank you so much for today, Nicole. This has been it's been a calm conversation too, because I think you kind of like the environment you're creating at home for your son is definitely like reflected through your talking style and just your energy. So thank you so much for making time for this today.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
for
Can you tell
sure.
people how to get in touch with you? How can they get in touch with your current organization that you work for, or maybe just get in touch with you in general?
Yeah, so you can contact me at my personal email. It's nicole.marquez@gmail. And the current organization I'm with is the National Employment Law Project. And if you have questions, the acronym is NELP, um, questions around, not getting paid all your wages, your rights as a independent, or someone who works in the gig industry. If you have questions about unemployment insurance, questions around, let's see, discrimination, just kind of in general, and also questions around, if you have uh, um, employment related questions around like having previously have been incarcerated and have a record, what your rights look like now, um, and let's see what else. A whole kind of like breadth of workers' rights angles, and really, really just an amazing organization. So proud to be a part of. Oh, I can't hear you, Sonia.
Thanks. Thank you all so much for joining us. It's been the Mommypreneur series. I've had one of my besties, Nicole Marquez Baker, here from the National Employment Law Project. And again, thank you so much for your time today, and have fun with that little yummy baby.
Yay!